let's talk a little bit about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or should I say Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Let's discuss that show.
Oh
I've
man,
been loving Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Like I'd mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Mark Gruenwald's run on Captain America in the 1980s, and this series seems to be taking a lot of stuff from that, and it was really nice to see a lot of that stuff in there, like John Walker, who is now the U.S. agent, as most people know him as in the comic book, and the Flag Smashers, even though they're a lot different from how they were in the comic book. They had their roots in the Martin Gruenwald run. And the main difference, I think, between this storyline and the Captain America No More storyline that John Walker originally came from is that there's no Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Instead, we have Sam Wilson stepping up and accepting his role as the rightful successor to the identity of Captain America.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of it?
Oh, I'm excited. I actually cried.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I'm a big soft, and I cried. I've always loved. I prefer when it comes to Marvel, I prefer the secondary characters.
Yeah.
To a lot of the major characters, and that's not entirely true, but they're my favorites, the secondary characters.
And a lot of mine are secondary characters too. But you were saying, I like a lot of the guys like Luke Cage and characters like that.
Yeah. But Falcon was always a favorite of mine, and I was really excited to see him take over as Cap finally. I was really hoping they weren't gonna, give the shield to Bucky and ruin it all. But yeah, they gave it to him, and it looked fantastic. And I'm happy they actually gave him a costume that looks like a superhero costume. And,
honestly, I was surprised that the costume has as much white on it as it did.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, as it appears in the comic books, where it's, white cowl all the way down to the shoulders and the white sleeves like Captain America typically has in the comic book. But, they usually didn't have a whole lot of white in Steve's costumes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously he had the wings and the A on the head and the star on his chest and then the white stripes kind of around the middle. But it seemed like they kind of minimized white as much as they could. Like he'd have like gray patches on his arms instead of having the white sleeves. And
that's been a big criticism of the MCU for me, is that they seem kind of scared to acknowledge that these people are superheroes and that they wear these colorful costumes. They always try to mute them or make them look less superhero-y, more militaristic.
Yeah.
And Falcons is really close to what was designed in the comic when he took the shield.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny how we finally had the white sleeves on Falcon when Steve never really got to have the white sleeves outside of his USO costume, of course.
Yeah.
I guess he had white sleeves in the first Avenger, right? I think so.
I'll have to look again. I want to say it was like only white on the inside of the bicep. That it was just, like the outside was still blue, but the inside there was like a white patch in there. I'll have to look
I think it was white, but with like a blue shoulder pad over it. Now that I'm thinking about it, but other than that, like the Avengers costume, I remember just kind of had like a little bit of gray on the sleeve. It wasn't even like all the way around. It was just kind of like I want to say kind of on the inside. And then of course the stealth costume had almost no white on it at all. It just had kind of like a silver star. And then the stripes on the middle were black and the same blue as the rest of the costume. But Sam got a much more comic booky sort of costume than Steve ever had, and I was here for it. I was I kind of felt like that was also the most comic booky costume that Sam had so far too. I mean, the Falcon costume that he had in the earlier episodes, I thought that was really good, and I actually would have liked to have seen more of that. It would have been nice if that had been his costume like earlier in the MCU. It's kind of one of those things where I kind of feel like it's kind of funny with the MCU costumes, since they seem to finally get it right as the character is about to stop wearing that costume.
Yeah.
They're about to leave, or in the case of Sam, he's about to take on a new identity.
Right.
But, it is what it is, I guess. So.
Yeah. And I'm hearing, the good thing is that I'm hearing that they've announced that Captain America 4 is happening with Anthony Mackie as Captain America. So.
Yeah.
And, you know, speaking of Anthony Mackie, that guy has quickly become one of my very favorite actors in Hollywood. I love that guy. Anything he's in, I'm watching.
And he was especially great in this, I think.
He was, yeah.
Like he really stepped up and brought his A game. You know, right. I think my favorite part of the episode, it was certainly my favorite part as far as Sam was concerned, was where he gives the speech in the middle of it. And it's like I kept thinking about, like, you know, in Winter Soldier, where he was like, you just came up with that speech off the top of your head. Yes, to Steve. And it's like, and here he is coming up with like this great speech off the top of his head. And I'm like, dude, you are Captain America now. Like you really are Captain America.
Yeah. And I really like the scenes with you know what? I realized I made a mistake because you and I had a phone call about one of the episodes a little while back, and I kept saying Isaiah Washington. And it's Isaiah Bradley, obviously. I know that. For some reason kept confusing his name with the guy that got fired from Grey's Anatomy or whatever. Anyway. Oh, okay. So Isaiah Bradley, the scenes with him were fantastic. And, you know, I love Carl Lumbly. I've been a fan of his since Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, yeah. And he's a dude with like a solid superhero legacy too. Like on his own.
Right. You know? Yeah. He's anybody who's not a comic book fan who's watching this might not know that he was the Martian Manhunter. He was John Parker in Buckaroo Banzai. Nobody's gonna know that one. And he was who else was it? He was the Martian Manhunter's father in Supergirl, and he was Mantis on TV.
Yep.
Mantis, one of the early TV not early TV superheroes, but one of the 90s TV superheroes.
Sadly short-lived.
Yeah. It's a good show.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, a great actor. And he got a statue in the Smithsonian in the Captain America exhibit. That was fantastic. I'm like tearing up and everything. And Misty's crying.
My only regret of that is that it didn't acknowledge that he actually was Captain America.
Yeah.
And that he actually had that identity for a little bit. Yeah. And I'm hoping at some point they'll have a flashback and actually show him in the uniform.
Yeah.
But like maybe they just felt like it might be a little too much on this series, and maybe it might take away a little bit from Sam becoming Captain America. Yeah. Which should be the main focus. But I'm still hoping at some point we get the flashback to him in the uniform and where he fights the Winter Soldier. And you know, a friend of mine was I was talking with him about it. He's like I was telling him I wanted to see that. And he's like, you want to see Bucky lose his arm? Like he was like, oh yeah, I want to see Bucky lose his arm. It's gonna be awesome. And then I started thinking about how like a lot of fans, myself included, would like to see Sebastian Stan be the guy who plays Luke Skywalker. They get a guy to be Luke Skywalker without any special effects. And you know, if they don't want to de-age Mark Hamill all the time, you know, Sebastian Stan would be a good guy. And then I thought to myself, this dude's just getting like typecast as people who lose arms.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but between if he played Luke Skywalker, between that role and Bucky, he wouldn't have any hands left. Yeah. So, you know, it's like, why do I keep getting cast as the guy with the robot hand? Why does that keep happening?
Yeah.
So,
well, at least as Luke Skywalker, it's covered with fake skin, and you can't really tell unless it gets damaged. So
yeah. So, but yeah, I really would like to see that at some point. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was good to see him, like, regardless of any misgivings I might have about that. It was good to see him get some recognition and find like his reaction to it, where he got all emotional. Like, you know, he tried to be all hard all through the previous appearances we've seen of him, but you know, it's coming from a place of like a deep sort of hurting, and how he really did put it all on the line for his country, and his country betrayed him. And it's really sad, because it's the sort of thing that really did happen to a lot of people in real life. Yeah. Like, especially a lot of black soldiers, like with the Tuskegee experiment and all that kind of stuff. I was going to say. Yeah.
Based almost directly on the Tuskegee experiments.
Yeah. So, So like I liked a lot of those elements of the show. In fact, I know a lot of people like I'd seen criticizing the show for being too woke or whatever, but to me, it's not woke to be against racism. It's just
right.
Like decent people are against racism. So
right.
if that's woke, well, I don't know, man. It just seems to be like I said. That's just be default.
Yeah. It's definitely something that should be addressed. So,
so and like I said before, I think it would be kind of irresponsible on a show where you're introducing a black Captain America to not address, the problems that we have with racism.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I really liked about it. So when Isaiah is first introduced in the show, he was against the idea of Sam being Captain America.
Yeah,
he didn't have the shield because of the racism that he specifically faced, and that a lot of other black soldiers and just the black population in general had faced. And there, by the end of it, Sam took this stance. I'm not sure exactly how to put it. I want to try lightly here. He had said that he wants to uphold the ideal of what America stands for, and the idea that we can be better. We should try to be better.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciated that. I thought it was great. And then finally, Isaiah was like, "Yeah, I understand. I get
it." And like I said before, that's what Captain America should be about. He shouldn't necessarily. He shouldn't represent the American government. He shouldn't represent what America is so much as what America could and should be. He's the American dream.
Right.
He represents the American people, the American dream, like the potential that this country has. What makes America great isn't necessarily what America is, but what it has the potential to become, and what it's constantly striving to become. Right. So, just pardon me for getting a little flag waving patriotic there, but that's as I see that.
Yeah.
So,
I did have a few criticisms about the show.
Okay.
So, and again, the show's fantastic. I loved it. I'm only picking nits here. I thought and here's the thing. I don't think it would have worked as a movie. This story, I don't think would have worked as a movie. And I think the sole reason for that is because I don't think the villains were strong enough. The idea behind them was fine, but I think they needed to be a little bit more. And again, no offense, we talked about the actress last time we talked about Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm a fan. She's a great actress. I enjoyed her in the part, but there was just no real. She didn't feel threatening to me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tread lightly here. I needed somebody more menacing,
I think they tried to make her a little too sympathetic.
Yeah.
And I get why you wanted to make her sympathetic.
Right.
But yeah, it would have been nice to see somebody that was like a little bit more of a heavy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
And I think maybe they were trying to do that with the Power Broker.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't think the Power Broker was a big enough part of the story for that to really work. I was thinking earlier about how probably what they need to do going forward, and what would be something that I would like to see, is to give Sam Wilson his Captain America, to give that character his own arch nemesis. And I don't mean bring the Red Skull back or, some other villain from the Captain America comics, but create a character that's worthy of being the arch nemesis of this version of Captain America. Yeah. And it could be, somebody who takes on the identity of the Red Skull. I think that would be fine, but not Johann Schmidt. Leave him stuck in whatever dimension he's in, banished to this hell. That's what he deserves. But bring in a new character that can maybe become the new Red Skull, or just a completely different villain of some sort.
As much as I've always wanted to see more of that Red Skull, they probably. I agree. They should probably leave him Leave him. He was Steve's nemesis.
Yeah, exactly. He's the arch enemy of Steve Rogers. Yeah. Sam needs his own arch enemy.
Right.
So
you just touched on a couple more of my criticisms.
Okay.
So one was that they keep killing the villains in the MCU. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. Superman killed one bad guy who threatened to destroy all of the earth and raise it of life. And everybody pitched a fit. And Marvel has killed almost every villain they've had in their cinematic universe, and everybody applauds it. Yeah. Basically, Zemo. He's the only one. Zemo and Loki, that's it. Yep. Even Loki's dead. Technically. I mean, he's coming back for his show, but he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the real Loki's supposed to be dead. I think that one's supposed to be one from an alternate universe.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm speaking specifically of Batroc. I was really disappointed that they seem to have killed Batroc.
Yeah.
We didn't actually see him dead. We saw him shot. But they never
was just starting to get like properly Batroc-y.
Yeah, yeah. I want to see more of him. I like that actor in the role.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a character from the comics, but
yeah.
And they killed him off. They killed Crossbones. They killed the Red Skull's dead. I mean, he's not technically dead.
Might as well be dead.
More or less. Thanos is dead. Who else is dead? Everybody's dead. They kill all the villains. They need to keep some alive so they can bring some back. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that was the other criticism. And Sharon Carter, the power broker.
Yeah.
Yeah. She maybe you know better than me, but I don't recall her ever being a villain in the comics.
I don't think she was a villain per se. I remember that she was the one who assassinated Captain America.
Yeah, right.
But she was brainwashed into it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't think that what they did with her is necessarily too different from how she was handled in the comics.
Yeah.
Because here's what happened with her is sometime in the late 70s or the 1980s, they killed her off.
Yeah.
And when Mark Waid did his run on Captain America, one of the very first things he did was he brought her back, which it turned out it was very easy because the thing that they did to kill her off was they just kind of showed Captain America a videotape of her getting killed.
Right.
And when she came back, he was like, I thought you were dead. She's like, yeah, you saw a videotape of me getting killed. Videotapes are really easy to fake. And that was pretty much it. But her backstory, everything that had happened to her from the point that we thought she died, was that, she was basically completely burned by S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And she kind of had to survive on her wits. And I don't know if they they certainly didn't in the first story. Maybe they did later on. But I don't know if they went into too many specifics of it as to what exactly she was doing in that time. But it was made pretty clear that she was doing some stuff that was pretty unsavory.
Yeah.
So,
maybe I'm being a little hasty. We don't know where this is going yet. This is kind of the beginning.
But she didn't exactly become a mob boss or anything like that. It's just kind of like she was working as a mercenary or something like that. So yeah, I think what happened, this is what I suspect happened, is in the comic book, Sharon's main purpose was to be the love interest for Captain America.
Yeah.
And in the comic books, she's kind of like that OTP kind of thing, the one true pairing. This is Captain America's Lois Lane. This is Captain America, the greatest love of his life. But in the movies, we know that's not so because it's Peggy Carter in the movies. And the thing is, I think they did too good a job with Peggy Carter in the movie. They made her too good of a character, and nobody wanted to see Steve with anybody but Peggy.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's why a lot of people were critical about the whole thing with him and Sharon in the first place. Is they all harped on her being Peggy's niece or whatever, and that being kind of weird. Which it's kind of weird in the comic book too, but they kind of gloss over it. But in the movie, it's just the thing with Steve and Peggy was just so pure and so true, and people people wanted more of that. And like, I think people like the tragic aspect of it, which in the comic book, Peggy was a love interest for Captain America in the World War II days, but I don't think he was quite as hung up on her as he was in the movies.
Right.
You know, like I think
not a whole lot of romance in those early comics.
Yeah, in the comic book, I think the person that was the main person that Cap lost from the war that he mourned was Bucky.
Yeah,
because Bucky in the comic book died at the same exact time that Captain America went into the ice. It was the same exact explosion of the plane. Right. And, when he came back, it was basically like he just lost Bucky.
Yeah.
It hadn't been like decades for him. It had only been like a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And Bucky was always the character that, like, whenever he thought of, he would think of him as like, this person that he lost and never, see again. Like that was more of an emotional connection to him than Peggy, who disappeared sometime during the war, but I think he at least had a little bit of time to come to terms with it.
Right.
Whereas it was the opposite in the movie, whereas Bucky died like, maybe like a couple of weeks, couple of months. I don't know exactly the timeline before he would have went into the ice. And as he's going into the ice, like the last thing he does is have this conversation with Peggy where they're basically pretending like they're going to see each other again when they know they really
are. Yeah. I had to explain to Misty how different this Bucky is from the comics version. In case any people who aren't comic fans happen to watch this video, maybe we should talk about that a little bit, because there was this saying among comic fans for decades that the only three characters in comics who don't come back to life are Uncle Ben, Spider-Man's Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy, and Bucky. And for decades that was true. Bucky was dead for decades.
Yeah.
Until when did he come back? When did he come back as the Winter Soldier? That was early 2000s, right? 2010s maybe. Hasn't been that long, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bucky was dead for a really long time in the comics, and nobody ever expected him to come back. So this idea, people who watch the movies and are fans of Bucky now, as far as they know, Bucky was always, just lost and not dead and came back as the Winter Soldier. But that's a really recent development that I don't know if, a lot of non-comic fans might not get.
And the movie version of Bucky is a lot different from the comic book version of Bucky. For those of you watching that might not be familiar with Bucky in the comic books, have you ever heard of Robin?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically the same thing. The same exact thing. Even the costume is pretty much the same costume. It's just like a take off the cape and it's a palette swap. Like it's just like a blue jacket with a red collar and red tights and a little domino mask.
I'm going to throw up
and I'm going to say something really controversial, and people might not expect this from me being such a huge Captain America fan, but I'll go ahead and say it. Bucky's origin in the comic book is stupid.
Yeah.
Because basically his origin in the comic book is that he's the camp mascot of the base that Steve's at. And his father died during basic training, so they kind of adopt him as the camp mascot. Right. That part's not stupid. The part that's stupid is that Steve is changing into Captain America in his tent, and Bucky kind of bursts in and sees him changing into Captain America, and it's like, well, now you have to make me your partner. And Steve's like, okay. So basically, he like blackmails his way into being Captain America's sidekick. Right. But it was the 1940s.
Yeah. I'll take you into combat in World War II.
Yeah. Hopefully no accidents happen to you, kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the 1940s. They just kind of like, came up with they just kind of wanted to get him into being a sidekick. So I think they just kind of, the easiest way they could do it in a couple of panels.
Right.
And then to top matters off, Bucky's real name is James Buchanan Barnes, and he went by the nickname of Bucky. And when he became a superhero, he decided to call himself Bucky. Yeah. And it's like,
And
you're wearing a mask, but you're just calling yourself by your real name.
Yeah.
It's like if Batman just called himself Bruce.
Yeah.
And it's like, who are you? I'm Bruce. And people would figure that out, dude. There's only so many Bruces in Gotham City. They just have to compare your chin now. So yeah, like, I don't know how Bucky was supposed to even have a secret identity. I don't know how that worked. And it was
a simpler time.
Yeah, it was just kind of dumb. It was kind of dumb. So when Ed Brubaker did the Captain America comics that he did, and he was the one who brought Bucky back, he came up with a new origin for Bucky that was way better. Which basically the original Bucky origin was kind of retconned into being like, that's not what really happened. That was propaganda that was in the comic books to, because they wanted to give Captain America a kid's sidekick, because in actuality, the real Bucky was a trained Army Ranger who, was a youthful looking 18-year-old. So he's not even like that different in age from Steve, just a couple of years. And he was the guy who would sneak around behind the scenes and do the dirty work while Steve was, being all Captain America and, truly heroic and little gleam on his teeth and everything like that. And Bucky's crawling around in the mud and, sneaking up behind a kraut and slitting his throat and doing all that kind of stuff. So
Bucky's that made a cooler character now than he was back then.
Yeah, like Brubaker's like the original Bucky, like I said, was pretty much Robin, but not. And Brubaker's Bucky was Audie Murphy.
Yeah.
So obviously way cooler. So, and then in the Ultimate Comics, that was where they had the backstory of, Bucky and Steve being friends since childhood. So they kind of merged that in with Brubaker's Bucky, and that was how they made MCU Bucky, who I think is the best version of the character. Like,
for sure.
I like Brubaker's Bucky a lot more than I liked the original version, but I'd say I didn't really become a fan of Bucky as a character until Sebastian Stan. Like, he was the guy that made me like that character.
I'm with you. I wasn't even a fan of Brubaker's version. I kind of thought Bucky should stay dead.
Yeah.
But I became a fan of his once he showed up in the MCU.
Bucky probably should have stayed dead, but, I kind of feel like it's one of those things where it's like, if you're going to bring back Bucky, that's a good way to do it. If that makes it, like it was an idea that I didn't like, but it was at least done in a good way. You have bad ideas that are executed badly, and you have bad ideas that are executed well. And I would say that would be one of those bad ideas that would be executed well. I kind of even hesitate to call it a bad idea because it was executed so well.
Yeah.
But it was certainly a risky idea, but I think it paid off in the long run.
And now the only character in comics that stays dead is Uncle Ben.
Yep. He even kind of brought Gwen Stacy back, sort of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So, in a little way. And I like that version of Gwen Stacy better than the older version of Gwen Stacy too. So
she's super cool now.
I'm definitely a Spider-Gwen fan. So but let's see what else about Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, one more criticism. Sam isn't a super soldier.
Yeah.
So which I don't really have a problem with, but he's kind of doing super heroic things.
Mm-hmm.
And they did have the serum, and I'm not saying that they should have made him a super soldier, but I think it might have been a better idea. At one point, there's the armored truck full of the dignitaries that's about to go over into the construction site, and he comes flying up behind it, and he grabs hold of it Superman style, and he's pushing it up. And I know his jetpack was doing most of the work, but his arms probably should have, buckled and broken, and they didn't. And I'm just picking nits again, but I'm saying, if he's going to be fighting super soldiers and he's going to be doing stuff like that, they probably should have given him some powers.
I kind of wonder if like maybe there's like a little bit of an exoskeleton in that suit that he got from
there
Wakanda.
Has to be, yeah. And it is Wakanda, yeah.
Yeah. See,
I'm assuming now the wings are vibranium too. So
yeah,
along with the shield.
I liked that because in the comic book, when the Falcon first got his costume with the wings, it was actually made by T'Challa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was glad that it finally came back around to that. I was a little disappointed that they'd left Black Panther out of the origin of Falcon's suit when they introduced him in Winter Soldier. Just kind of mildly disappointed because it's like,
well,
part of the character that I like.
Something tells me he may have had something to do with that, if maybe. Not for the unfortunate fact that he's no longer with us. So, that's something also that I was kind of hoping that they would address it. But they're probably saving that for Black Panther too.
Yeah,
the loss of Chadwick Boseman.
So, but yeah, I was glad that they did that, and but yeah, I'm kind of the opinion that like I'm glad that Sam doesn't have any super soldier serum because like it's debatable exactly what level of superhuman powers Captain America might or might not have in the comic book.
Yeah,
and I tend to lean towards him having like as little superhuman powers as possible. As far as I'm concerned, Captain America's only superhuman power is he does have superhuman stamina, where he doesn't tire easily. And also, his body, because of the super soldier serum, can fight off toxins, like the toxins that make you feel tired, that build up naturally in your body. His body can work through toxins a lot faster than a normal person. But I don't think of him as having superhuman strength or speed. I think of him as being, as they describe him in the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, basically as strong as the strongest Olympic power lifter, as fast as the fastest Olympic runner, which, I guess you could argue that it's even superhuman for him to be able to do both of those things at the same time. But it's still like, it's still stuff that's within the possibility of being a human being, that somebody could be that strong. Whereas in the movies, it's not really that way. Captain America is pretty clearly superhumanly strong and superhumanly fast. And I'm willing to let that slide because it's a movie and people are gonna kind of expect him to have a little something extra to stand with these characters. But I always like thinking of Captain America as being a guy who is a normal human, but he can still stand on the level of these super powered beings on the fact, like his skill and his human strength.
The Marvel equivalent of Batman.
Exactly. And I love Batman, so it's as I see it, they're kind of cut from the same cloth in that way. Yeah.
Speaking of Captain America and strength, the MCU took a lot of cues from the Ultimate Universe. One of the big criticisms I had of that in the Ultimate version of Avengers, which was called the Ultimates originally, was when they're fighting the Hulk in New York City, and was it Freddie Prinze Jr. he was trying to kill? Yeah. Anyway, the Hulk goes on a rampage. Freddie Prinze Jr. was putting the moves on his girl, and Captain America stops the Hulk by kicking him in the nuts. And I thought that was a little dumb because, we just seen the Hulk tearing up buildings, and I was imagining that if Cap kicks, that Hulk in the nuts, his leg's going to break. And the Hulk just isn't going to care. But anyway, that's just a little...
I think that the Ultimate version is supposed to be somewhat superhumanly strong too. Yeah. Not as strong as the Hulk, obviously. Right. But
not as strong as Hulk's nuts.
Yeah. But, I guess if he caught him unawares by kicking him in the most vulnerable part of his anatomy, wouldn't necessarily incapacitate him, but might kind of distract him a little bit.
Yeah.
So, who knows? But like they did take some things from the Ultimate version in a lot of these cases, but thankfully they took a lot of the stuff that I wouldn't really mind if they took. They didn't necessarily take like some of the stupider things that they did in that series, which I actually enjoyed that series quite a bit. But
it was a good series, well written.
But it certainly had its problems. Like,
the sequel had more problems. specifically with Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah,
it's well drawn at least. Yeah, we won't
know
get
what they were thinking there. That was just icky.
Yeah.
So I don't need any kind of like Cersei and Jamie stuff going on there. That's just, please no.
Yeah, thank goodness they left that out.
Yeah. So, and like Captain America, personality wise in the MCU is certainly more of the mainline Marvel Universe version, not necessarily like the like they kind of tried to give him a little more of an edge in Ultimates. And in some ways I like that, because Captain America should be like a dangerous guy to be on the other side of, but he should also be a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like
the Ultimate version, he kind of started out a little more like John Walker in this show. So. Yeah,
exactly. And that's not what Steve Rogers ought to be. Steve Rogers should be like well, he should be a nice guy. He should be a good man. Like Erskine said, not a perfect soldier, but a good man.
Yeah.
And frankly, going back to the show, I think that's a big part of the reason why Steve picked him to be Sam to be a successor in the first place. Like, if you go back and you watch Winter Soldier, it's pretty clear from the very beginning that Steve sees a lot of himself in this guy and identifies with him in a lot of ways. And it's even a nice shot, like when they first go to Sam's house to ask him for his help. And the way the scene starts off is with Cap's reflection in the door, and the door opens up and there's Sam. So it's like, even the movie itself is telling you, like, these guys are pretty much the same guy, like in terms of, like where they're coming from, like personality wise.
Right.
Like, Sam is that good man that Steve is.
Yeah.
And that's why he's Captain America. That's why John Walker didn't work as Captain America. Because John Walker is the perfect soldier, and not Sam Wilson is the good man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And
hopefully we get to see more.
Just go and listen to the Trouble Man soundtrack again.
Hopefully we get to see more of John Walker in the MCU too, as a U.S. agent.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I really want to see him in his own spinoff. And I kind of almost worry that might not happen, because a lot of people really hated that character. But you're supposed to hate him. You're supposed to. That's the point. So yeah, I would love to see him in his own spinoff series. I definitely want to see more of why am I drawing a blank on her name? Elaine Bennis.
Oh, the Contessa?
Yeah. I want to see more of Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Well, she was supposed to have made her first appearance in Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
She does make her first appearance in there, but we haven't seen Black Widow yet because that's been released.
Yeah.
But pretty soon.
So I definitely want to see more of her. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. I really want to see her and Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah.
In some scenes together. Like there's that infamous page from the comic book.
Right.
The one that got censored. Yeah. And I know you're familiar with it. And like I'm just like, man, they just need to do that scene with Julie Louis-Dreyfus and Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
And that would just be cool as hell. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
So
they should do. It's kind of a shame they've already done Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know a lot of people were fans of that show, but I was really disappointed with it from pretty early on, because it wasn't what I had thought that kind of show should be. And it's kind of a shame they can't do an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show now with Samuel L. Jackson and the Contessa on Disney Plus, and give us some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. I
suppose they probably could, but
I've heard rumors that they might.
Yeah.
So like, and I would really like to see that myself.
Right.
Like, it would be cool to see something that's more about espionage in this greater universe.
Right.
Because like, I don't know if we saw that much like really like espionage type stuff in the ABC show. And plus, it's one of those things where it's like, I like Coulson an awful lot. I think Coulson's a great character. Yeah. Right. And I always want to see more of Coulson.
Mm-hmm.
But it's strange to see a show that's called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that doesn't have Nick Fury on it.
Yeah.
It's an odd choice.
There was a lot of promise in that show. And they just didn't really realize any of it to me. Like I was like even Coulson, I was disappointed with his role on that show because he kind of wasn't really the same character in the movies.
Yeah,
because Coulson was kind of this, like kind of nerdy, kind of bookish looking guy, but he was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He could kick butt with, and we didn't get a whole lot of that in the show. At least not up to the point that I watched, which was probably through season 3, I think it was. I'm not even sure how many seasons that show ran for, but I kind of. And then there was the whole thing where it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's connected to the MCU, but then it's not, and they kind of waffled around on that. And some of the stuff tied in, and some of it didn't. And I don't know. It was just really disappointing to me. It just got kind of junky and not nearly as not. It's not what I would have done. Which sounds like a weird kind of, thing for a comic book.
Originally, it was supposed to be like firmly connected to the MCU, and what wound up happening was like once Kevin Feige like completely took over Marvel Studios as far as like the movie division goes, and Ike Perlmutter was still in charge of the television stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was where the divide happened because Feige didn't want to work with Perlmutter at all.
Right.
Can't blame him for that. But I think things are different now because obviously WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are supposed to be firmly set within the MCU. So who knows if we'll ever see Coulson again? Like, at least outside of flashbacks.
Right.
And, stuff that takes place in the past. And if this S.H.I.E.L.D. series does happen, would we see Coulson on it? And, like, what's even the state of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the MCU right now? Does it even exist?
Yeah.
Who knows? Right. So, there's all kinds of places they could take that. So, But yeah, God, what's the next one that's coming up here? Loki. That's going to be the next one, and I'm looking forward to that.
MODOK on Hulu's coming out pretty soon, actually. I think within the next couple weeks.
Yeah, but I don't have Hulu.
Oh, it's not MCU related anyway. It does look pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, why ain't that on Disney Plus, man? Come on.
Yeah.
All the Marvel stuff should be on Disney Plus. Why are you putting it on a Hulu?
Yeah. And What If? What If is the other show that's coming soon too, I think.
Is that on? That's on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, it's a Disney Plus show, but I have no idea when it premieres. It's got to be coming up soon.
Yeah,
I'm guessing a few months.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that because I was always a big fan of the What If comic book, and first episode's going to have more Peggy Carter in it.
Oh yeah,
and I'm always interested in seeing more of her. So,
Super Soldier Peggy Carter.
Yeah,
that should be awesome. Yeah,
she could break me in half. I'm sorry, I'm drifting. So yeah,
I think that's another reason why people weren't as into Sharon Carter is that a lot more people are way more into Peggy Carter.
Yeah, and it's like. Oh, don't get me wrong, like, Emily Van Camp, she's an attractive young lady. Like, I'm not trying to slight her at all, but I just like shit. I just like
Haley Atwell.
I like Peggy so much. I like Haley Atwell. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to throw up a picture of her, too.
Yeah. You can put as many pictures of her as you want. The whole thing can just be like one picture of her.
Yeah.
And people are like, why does it say Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it's just got this picture of Haley Atwell?
I'll just do a slideshow of pictures of Haley Atwell, and then you'll hear us talking over the background.
Yeah.
It'll be our watch video.
It'll definitely be better than looking at my ugly mug.
Yeah.
So, you know, but yeah, that's it would be nice to see more of her. Like maybe if they did a third season of Peggy Carter on Disney Plus, because you know, they wanted to do a third season, but it got canceled.
Yeah. They really need to. There's no reason why they shouldn't bring that show back at this point, because she is a popular character. The show was, you know, very well received. Misty wants them to bring, my wife, she wants them to bring that show back.
Yeah.
We were watching Dunkirk the other day. I hadn't got to see it before, but we, you know, finally got around to watching it. And Jarvis is in it. And I was like, whoa, there's Jarvis. Like, they need to get that guy back on Disney Plus, and you know, it's too good a show for them to cancel it as quickly as they did.
That was a character I was really happy to see, because, like, you know, while I thought it was clever how they did Jarvis in the Iron Man movies, like, you know, I was happy to see the Butler version of him.
Yeah,
like I kind of figured the reason they made the change in the movie was because, you know, they didn't want to just do Alfred.
The Batman comparison, yeah.
Everyone would just be like, dude, that's Alfred, but for Iron Man. It's the same character. But if they make him into an AI for the house, then they can still have your snarky British butler without having a snarky British butler. So, you know. But when they did him on Agent Carter, then it was a little more sort of like... he felt a little more unique than he might have otherwise. I guess I'm trying to say. So that was cool.
Right.
So
I appreciated that he was still, because in the comics he was originally Howard Stark's butler anyway. Tony basically just inherited him with the mansion. Yeah. And I appreciated that he was, you know, they still included him as Howard's butler.
And he also appeared in Endgame, so that means that the Peggy Carter series is canon to the MCU. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that still ties in. It was written by the same guys who write the Captain America movies anyway. So
So anything else about Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I think that pretty much covers it. I can't think of anything else I need to say about it.
Great show.
So if you haven't watched it yet, definitely watch it. Highly recommend it. It's a really great continuation of the legacy of Captain America.
Yep. And we can't wait till Captain America 4.
Indeed. So, and hopefully they'll have a really great villain for him to fight against. Someone who's worthy of his mettle. He needs a baptism of fire. You know.
I'm gonna before we wrap this up, I'm gonna suggest the Serpent Society.
I would love to see the Serpent Society, especially because, like I said, I'd been reading through the because I enjoyed the show so much, I wanted to go back and read the old comics, the Captain America No More storyline there that introduced John Walker, and the Serpent Society figures pretty heavily into that. You know, I'm the guy that when they did the announcement of what wound up becoming Civil War, and they put up the screenshot that said Captain America Serpent Society, I was like, yes, Serpent Society. This is going to be awesome. And then it turned out they were a fake out. Oh, no, really, it's going to be Civil War. And I'm like, oh, I guess that'll be okay. But man, I wanted that Serpent Society. It would be really cool to see Serpent Society. And it would be nice if they introduced Cobra in like a Thor movie or something like that, because originally he was a Thor villain. Yeah. And then they could have him be in the, you know, man, that would be fun. Serpent Society might actually be like a really cool thing to do when they do like another series of I guess Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or if they do just like a John Walker spinoff show. Maybe Winter Soldier should just have his own show and Captain America should be a movie rather than trying to do both with Captain America. Like, I mean, like, Sam can still show up in a Bucky solo series, but, you know, it might be a little too much to have a show and a movie. Like, we don't want to overwork the guy. We don't want Anthony Mackie to like have a heart attack from like overexertion.
Yeah, it's probably pretty unlikely for them to do both. But
yeah. So, but you know, I think Serpent Society would definitely be a fun thing to see.
Yeah.
So, and Viper could be in it because she's a Captain America villain that we haven't really seen.
There you go.
I mean, they kind of did her in the Fox X-Men movies, but I kind of feel like the less said about that, the better. So
yeah. I was going to say Falcons and Serpents are natural mortal enemies. So.
Yeah, there we go. So, especially if you think about like the Mexican flag, that has a falcon fighting a serpent on it too. And isn't the new guy who's going to become Falcon?
New Falcon, yeah.
Isn't he Hispanic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? I could maybe if they do another season of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that's the Falcon that could be in the title.
There you go.
So since he's apparently going to pick up the mantle now, so
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Then I think we've covered everything now. So.